you've probably noticed something about yourself that most people never talk about. The smarter you are, the lonelier you become. And at some point, you stopped seeing that loneliness as a problem. You started seeing it as clarity. That shift, that quiet acceptance of your own company over the noise of others, isn't loneliness at all. It's something else entirely. And understanding what it actually is changes everything. Most men spend their entire lives trying to fit into social structures that were never built for the way their minds work. They show up to gatherings, maintain friendships out of obligation, and smile through conversations that feel like they're happening in a different language. But somewhere around your 50s, something shifts. The energy to pretend runs out. And what replaces it isn't bitterness or sadness. It's permission. Permission to stop performing. Permission to be alone without apology. Research from institutions like Harvard and Stanford has explored this phenomenon for decades, and the findings are consistent. High intelligence correlates with lower social satisfaction, not because intelligent people are incapable of connection, but because the kind of connection they need is rare. Most social interaction is transactional, superficial, or built on shared assumptions that don't hold up under scrutiny. And if your mind naturally questions, analyzes, and seeks depth, most conversations feel like work. You're not rejecting people. You're rejecting the shallow scripts people use to avoid real thought. This becomes especially pronounced after 55. By that age, you've had decades of watching people choose comfort over truth, distraction over reflection, and groupthink over independence. You've seen marriages held together by fear, careers built on compromise, friendships that dissolve the moment you stop playing your assigned role. And at a certain point, you realize that what society calls connection is often just noise. The people who made you feel most alone were the ones you spent the most time with. What happens next is what most people misunderstand. You begin to choose solitude, not because you're damaged or broken, but because you've learned to distinguish between loneliness and aloneness. Loneliness is the feeling of being disconnected from yourself. Aloneness is the experience of being connected to yourself so deeply that other people's presence becomes optional. And once you cross that line, there's no going back. You stop seeking validation. You stop explaining yourself. You stop waiting for someone to finally understand you, because you've become the person who understands you. The American Psychological Association has documented that men with higher cognitive ability tend to report lower levels of life satisfaction when their social lives are highly active. That sounds backwards, until you consider what most social interaction demands. It demands you suppress your actual thoughts in favor of acceptable ones. It demands you laugh at things that aren't funny, agree with things that don't make sense, and ignore contradictions that are obvious. For someone wired to think critically, that's not connection, that's self-erasure. And after decades of it, your mind simply refuses to cooperate anymore. This refusal isn't antisocial. It's self-protective. By the time you reach your 60s, your tolerance for inauthenticity has dropped to zero. You can't sit through another dinner party where people talk about nothing. You can't pretend to care about status updates, career achievements, or who said what to whom. You've done the math. You know how much time you have left. And spending it on performances you don't believe in feels like a betrayal of your own intelligence. Here's what's important to understand. This isn't depression. It's not avoidance, it's discernment. You've spent a lifetime observing human behavior, and you've noticed patterns most people never see. You've watched people destroy themselves chasing things that don't matter. You've seen intelligence punished and mediocrity rewarded. You've realized that most of what people call happiness is just distraction from the fact that they've never asked themselves what they actually want. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You become an outsider by default. Stanford researchers studying social behavior in high-functioning adults found that individuals with above-average intelligence often experience what they call cognitive solitude. It's the recognition that your internal world is more complex, more interesting, and more honest than the external world most people occupy. That doesn't make you superior. It makes you incompatible. And incompatibility, when you're younger, feels like failure. But when you're older, it feels like freedom. Freedom from pretending you care about things you don't. Freedom from maintaining relationships that drain you. Freedom from the exhausting work of translating your thoughts into language that won't offend or confuse. You've earned the right to be alone without explanation. And the truth nobody tells you is that this freedom, this solitude, is one of the most reliable signs of intellectual and emotional maturity. Most people never reach this point. They spend their entire lives seeking approval, fearing rejection, and measuring their worth by how many people show up to their birthday. But you've outgrown that. You've realized that the people who truly matter can be counted on one hand, maybe two, and everyone else is background noise. That realization doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. There's a reason why so many of history's greatest thinkers, writers, and creators were described as solitary. It's not because they couldn't connect. It's because they refused to settle for shallow connection. They understood that real thought requires silence, real insight requires space, and real peace requires the courage to walk away from people who will never understand you. You're in that tradition now, and there's nothing wrong with that. The loneliness you may have felt earlier in life wasn't a character flaw. It was a signal that your mind works differently, that you see things others don't, that you ask questions others won't. And now, decades later, you've stopped seeing that signal as a problem. You've started seeing it as a gift, because the alternative, the life where you stayed in rooms that made you small, where you kept your thoughts to yourself to keep the peace, where you smiled through your own disappearance, that life would have destroyed you. So if you're watching this and recognizing yourself, understand this. The distance you feel from others isn't evidence that something's wrong with you. It's evidence that you've been paying attention. It's evidence that you value truth over comfort. And it's evidence that you've reached a level of self-awareness most people will never achieve. That's not loneliness, that's clarity. And clarity, once you have it, is the most valuable thing you own. If this resonated, you're not alone in being alone. There are others like you, and this channel is built for them. Stay connected if you want more of these conversations. There's more to explore,